Today is December 21st, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, here we are in the middle of the week, and the controversy swirling around Father Frank Pavone's removal from the priesthood continues unabated in pro-life circles. And I've seen several interviews where he has spoken to various podcasters about his dismissal. And something I did not mention in the previous broadcast from Monday is that, the Vatican made their decision to strip him of his priestly duties back in November. And that information did not come out until about a week ago or less by the Catholic News Agency. And what's interesting is that Father Pavone had not been informed by the Vatican that he had been stripped of the priesthood until the Catholic News Agency basically informed him. I mean, he was never told by the Catholic Church that he was going to be removed. I mean, that's unbelievable. If you had to be fired from your job, you would think that your employer would inform you that you're being fired. But that was not the case. And that's pretty rude and disrespectful to Father Pavone to leave him completely in the dark about his own future concerning his priestly function. So shame on the Catholic Church for not having the decency to let him know that he was being removed. Now, in one of his interviews this past 2 or 3 days, he talked about his future role in the pro-life movement. And he seemed to imply that since his duties as the head of Priests for Life did not really involve his priestly function, that he was most likely going to continue in his role in the organization. A lot of people on staff are lay people, and actually one of his co-laborers is Elvita King, the niece of Martin Luther King, who she's not even a Catholic, and she's completely on board with his ministry and the ministry of Priests for Life. So if you don't have to be a Catholic to be in Priests for Life, then you probably don't even have to be a Catholic priest to be the head of Priests for Life. So most likely this removal will not alter his responsibility with that organization. Now, he also commented, he was talking to one Catholic podcaster, and he said this has been going on, this persecution has been going on for about 20 years. So that's a long-standing problem that he's been having with various bishops in the American Catholic Church, and maybe even at the Vatican as well. But, and he talked about some of the reasons, he talked about some of that fundraising issues that really did not materialize. But another factor that a lot of American bishops found highly offensive was his strong ties to the Trump re-election campaign of 2020. He had come on board, according to him, back in 2015 to join forces with the Trump campaign, and he stayed with the Trump team all through his presidency. If you're a president, you do need to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, or at least individuals who are willing to kind of lead you in a certain way. And, admittedly, Trump had been pro-choice recently, in the last 10, 15 years. And through a lot of Protestant and Catholic leaders, they did guide him along a very strongly pro-life path. And his nominations of pro-life federal judges, especially the 3 that made it to the Supreme Court, is proof that that he was influenced. I'm not going to say manipulated because that's a strong word, but he was influenced by a lot of pro-life leaders to take the strong pro-life stance he took during his presidency. And Pavone is convinced that his strong position with the Trump team was a big factor in these bishops wanting to get him stripped of his priesthood. Let's face it, a lot of Catholics in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church in America are Democrats. To their shame, they are Democrats who want to turn a blind eye to the whole issue of abortion. A lot of Catholic leaders would much rather see a Catholic Joe Biden at the helm than a non-Catholic Donald Trump. And, I use the word Catholic Biden under advisement because that man is anything but a Catholic. His support of the trans issue, his support of gays and lesbians, his support of abortion, his support of gay sex marriage, same-sex marriage. These are positions that the Catholic Church has taken strong positions against. And, for him to be so enthusiastically supportive of positions that are anti-Catholic does make you wonder if this man really is a devout Catholic. Okay, and going back to Priests for Life, one of their functions is education. They are a strong organization advocating for educating the public, not just Catholics, but the public, on the humanity of unborn life. I think back when my two oldest sons were first born. This is back in 1979 and 1981. They were born. And back then, we did not have digital cameras. So if I wanted to bring pictures of my newborn sons to where I worked, I had to use a Polaroid camera because it would have taken too long to have pictures developed at your local pharmacy back in the old days. Today, obviously, it's instantaneous. You just bring your cell phone. But back then, you needed a Polaroid camera to take instant pictures, instant images of those little newborns, to bring them to work the next morning to show your coworkers, hey, yeah, this is my new son. Well, images make lasting impressions. And to me, the most lasting impression of the unborn child is an ultrasound. The pro-abortion people really despise ultrasound. If they're going to use it, they're going to use it to make sure they guide the doctor in making sure they get everything in an abortion. But generally speaking, I don't think the pro-abortion people really want ultrasounds used because it's a strong image that depicts the humanity of the unborn child. And no matter how early, obviously at some stage you can't, an ultrasound is not effective because the baby is too small. But even there, now I'm shifting concepts now. DNA. You let's say you do an ultrasound at 12 weeks. Well, did the baby have DNA at 12 weeks? Okay, well, let's say it did. Did the baby have DNA the day before that ultrasound was taken? Well, most likely. How about 2 days before? Or 3 days before that ultrasound? Or a week before that ultrasound? Or 2 weeks before the ultrasound? Did the baby have DNA? How about 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks? At what point did that baby receive is the wrong word. How early did that baby possess DNA 2 weeks after conception? No. DNA was present at conception. And the DNA tells us who that baby will be, what his or her hair color is, if the sex of the child, all the features that will make that child who he or she is was decided at conception. And that DNA was there at the very, very beginning. So I'm sure Priest for Life will soldier on during this rough time. And Father Frank Pavone, even if he's stripped of that title, Father, Frank Pavone will continue on in his relationship with the pro-life movement. He will continue to be a strong advocate for the unborn child. And for that, we are grateful that they may have stripped him of a title, but they have not silenced his voice. And with that, I'll let you go. I will see you next time.